Wait. This isn't Basque Country. Why am I in Arizona? Oh god, it's July? Oh crap, I'm late. Cursed! CONLANG! Circus! 4! Announcement! Yes, that's right, folks. I've spent an entire year away from the Franco-Enochian homeland just to detox myself and prepare for yet another wave of horrific nightmares provided by you, the subscribers and matrons, and various lurkers from across the internet. In the CCC4, over 100 people submitted their most disturbing linguistic monstrosities, and nearly 800 people voted for their full slates of their top 6 choices from the batch. And my patrons, YouTube members, Discord mods, and Big Lang YouTubers participated in 6 sessions of voting on those top 30 most voted choices. Now, it's time for the 4th circus. But before you instantly submit your creation that you've definitely been preparing since the day the CCC3 ended, there are, as usual, some things that you have to know. The deadlines, the translation text, the optional themes, the submission requirements. If you're planning on submitting a language for the CCC4, it's time to start taking some notes. First things first, since we know people have been asking about it lately, the deadline this year will be Friday, October 10th. You'll have until the end of that day to make your submission. More specifically, since I know y'all like to wait till the very last minute, 11:59 p.m. Central European Time, Friday, October 10th, 2025, no exceptions, okay? Now, thing that probably has single-handedly prevented people from posting their submission several months in advance, this year's required translation text. This year we're doing just one text, but it's a particularly long one, so the amount of it that you translate depends on what you can handle. The text is the following. What a majestic serpent! Surely it won't weave itself into the loom of infinity, nor coil into the wheel of endless ruin and rebirth. Oh my god! Its jaws close upon its own flesh, fangs stinging deep into its own tail. It gnaws its bones as if they were the ribs of time itself. It drinks its own marrow as if siphoning eternity. A beast both devourer and devoured, a whisper swallowed by its own echo, slithering tail eater. Truly a testament to the unbroken dirge of time, now and forever curled in my heart and the heart of the world. So yeah, try your best to at least translate up to siphoning eternity. If your language is easy to translate, feel free to do the whole thing. If your language is absolutely brutal to translate, you can do a smaller portion. I'll specify more later. Anyway, now on to the rules. Oh. Ring at the doorbell. Hang on a sec. Didn't even know I had a doorbell.
Oh, nice. The backwards compatibility works. Hey, you might recognize me from the circus last year, where I began exploring alternate dimensions of Earth with my partner company Logati Portals. Normally, dimension codes only go up to P, but I've just been informed that they found a loophole to get access to dimensions in the Q zone. Turns out these dimensions are really weird, like weirder than we've ever seen. So I figured I'd contact Agma Schwa, since the CCC4 seems like a great opportunity for people to explore this weird little pocket of the multiverse. I guess he's not here though. But like his camera is on, so he'll see this afterward, I guess. Anyways, so far we found 2 relatively common themes that surround some languages in these Q dimensions. The first theme is the use of non-human phonetics, which is pretty common for Logati Portals to be dealing with anyway. Think about how a mantis might make use of its vocalization, or perhaps a language of frogs might prominently feature creaky voice and tone distinctions. The other theme is kinda strange. Sort of the opposite of the Proto-Lang theme of last year, many languages in the Q zone seem to be future evolutions of other languages. They're sometimes evolutions of their own in isolation, such as Ultra-French, but many have arisen as a result of 2 or more coming in contact. Think about how a language might get heavy influence from another and evolve into its own unique blend of features. Some Q dimension families even have full-on Sprachbunds that can get very complex. Oh, I should probably put his camera down. And for this time around, the winner of the CCC will get a song written and performed by me in their own language. If the phonemes aren't something that's able to be sung, we'll figure that out, I promise. And that's all I got. Keep those 2 themes in mind when you're exploring those Q dimensions. And if you're unfamiliar with how dimension codes work, you can find a quick overview on LogatiPortals.com. See ya.
that was weird. Okay. Finally, let's get to the rules, right? Because there were quite a few things that came up in the CCC3 that we'd like to address here. First, submission length and editing. This year, the videos must be at most 30 minutes. No 1-hour documentaries, please. But we're also not going to restrict it to like 15 minutes like last time. That was too short. This time, 30 minutes. That should be okay, right? Note that the translation does not count towards the time limit for this video, though. So if you want to include a 2-hour translation segment in your video, just go ahead, right, I guess. If the translation does bring your video over the time limit, be sure to include chapters in the video description that clearly indicate what part makes up the translation. You can also put your translation in a separate video if you want, in which case it must be included in your submission. Just putting a link in the video's description is not enough. So we've included a separate field in the submission form for that if you do choose to go that route. The submission form is linked in the description if I haven't mentioned that yet. As ever, your presentation must be legible, so ideally at least 720p, and the audio must be loud enough where you can comfortably listen to it with or without headphones. If people have to strain their ears or sit there in complete silence to try and make out what's being said, then you know, no one's gonna vote for your video, and then you'll also probably just get disqualified. So do not include audio in only one channel, i.e. just the left channel or the right channel. Doing that will also get you disqualified. No exceptions. Please, let it at least be like an enjoyable viewing and listening experience. If you're unsure whether your volume is adequate, put on one of my videos and go back and forth between the two a bit to see the system volume on your computer and the volume slider on YouTube, and just make sure everything is set at the same level. And if the volume is about the same, then you're probably good. If it's louder, if it's quieter, just go back to whatever editing software you're using and up the volume and re-upload your video. We don't want to have to use the gain. We don't want to have to turn up the gain by 1000% on the browser for every video like we did for a lot of them last time. Please, just, you know, it'll save us some time. For example, if you usually use headphones, chances are it might be too quiet for someone who prefers speakers. Number 2, no copyrighted music, please. Please. It would be really, really nice if my longest video of the year doesn't get copy struck and demonetized for once. I'm going to implore you to not use any copyrighted music in your submission video. I'm begging you. If you don't know how to check if your background music is copyrighted, there's a couple ways you can prevent it from happening in the first place. First, if you have to download the music in a sketchy way, it's probably copyrighted. Solutions to this. Use a copyright-free music download from a royalty-free site like pixabay.com/music. There's a bunch of other choices too, but that's the one I usually use. Or use some of my music. You can download any of those songs using your sketchy methods from my secondary channel, The Velar Nasal. I won't mind if I have to, you know, share the revenue with myself, because it's me. Also, I know from the CONLANG census that statistically over half of you are musicians, so you could also make your own music too if you have that kind of free time. If you're unsure whether your music is copyrighted or not, then you'll know when you upload your submission to YouTube. In fact, YouTube will notify you of the exact segment of the video that's copyrighted. You can literally replace the upload file of your video before publicly publishing it. This is really annoying though. Ask me how I know. So I recommend taking the preemptive measures instead. Edit out long pauses and mistakes from your recording. Like last year, you're supposed to cut out any long pauses in your video. It turned out that we didn't adequately communicate exactly what we meant by that. So to elaborate, do not leave any pauses in your video that are longer than 2 seconds. You can have pauses shorter than that every now and then, but no pauses after every sentence, not even short ones. If you want to have a long pause for comedic effect, that's fine, but don't overdo it, you know? Note that pauses don't just include literal moments of silence, but also pauses in your explanation proper. You should cut out any long ramblings that don't add anything of value to the presentation, or leave out any side tangents. You can also include things if they are related to your language or world building, if they don't contain any explanations of the linguistic concepts. At that point, they're not side tangents, that's like actually part of it, so that's fine. If you find yourself stumbling over your own words, like restarting a sentence, rephrasing something mid-speech, then just edit out the failed attempts and splice the sentences together. using jump cuts or just start over with that part of the video entirely. If it takes you 2 minutes to make a point that you end up communicating in 1 or 2 sentences, you can cut out those 2 minutes and just leave those 1 or 2 sentences. If you have trouble making up words on the spot, you could write a script for your video. Totally not reading off of a teleprompter right now. Don't get me wrong, I'm not expecting anyone to deliver like flawlessly edited videos, but it has to be obvious that you at least tried to cut out long pauses or segments where you made a mistake or just started talking about something irrelevant for a minute. And just like last year, you'll be able to update your submission as often as you want until the end of that submission period. After that, however, your submission will be final, and whatever video link is in your submission at that point is what we'll present to people. There will be no option to alter your video in any way after the deadline, so make sure to actually double check if your video came out fine after you upload it to YouTube. And maybe don't wait until the very last day of the submission period to do so in case something goes wrong. As with last year, there will be no extensions to the submission period. The video name and tagging. The name of the language must be listed in the video title or at least in the description of the video. This may sound trivial, but some submissions didn't do that last year, and a number of people didn't know what to select in the voting form because of this. If your language doesn't have a written name, or if the name is over 50 characters, you'll have to come up with some nickname or abbreviation for it. For anyone who wants a more precise definition, for our purposes, one character shall be defined as one UTF-32 code point, and the name as a whole must be something that can be reasonably displayed on a website. If there is space in the video's title, include Cursed Conlang Circus, Cursed Conlang, or CCC4 in it too. Additionally, like last year, please include the tag #CCC4 in the video title or description as well. All of this is done to potentially increase your algorithm performance. People watching circus submissions will be much more likely to have another circus submission appear in their recommendations if the circus is mentioned in the video's metadata somehow. Include the translation. Again, as I said earlier, if translating the text would take longer than a week, or if reading it out would take more than 1 to 2 minutes, feel free to only show up to the siphoning eternity part. Include only parts of it in the video, or speed up your recitation of it. You have to include a translation segment though. If your language is so cursed that it cannot express the text at all, then that may be a good indication that what you created isn't really a language at all. The translation need not be perfect or even reversible, but it must be possible, at least in theory, to take an arbitrary English text and convert it to your conlang in such a way that a hypothetical native speaker of your language would more or less be able to discern the original meaning. And your language must be a language. This also means that yes, your language does have verbs, as we discussed in a video earlier this year. Your conlang, no matter how cursed, still needs to be a language. The purpose of language is communication. If your creation can convey meaning, however badly, then it is a language. But if it fails to do so entirely, then you failed the number one objective of the circus, that being the creation of a cursed language. So as an example of how things could go wrong, say for discombobulate, we briefly considered changing how focus works, but we pretty quickly found out that messing with semantics itself tends to have rather drastic consequences. A language in which focus truly operated fundamentally differently wouldn't really work too well as a language. If we made focus widen the set of possible worlds instead, then it would serve no purpose conversationally. In other words, communication just kind of breaks down entirely, and all context there ever was to the conversation has been obliterated. Other parts of linguistics, such as phonology and syntax, which can be argued to be mostly arbitrary, a good part of semantics is based on the laws of logic, and a language, or thing really, because calling it a language is a bit questionable at that point, whose inner workings are fundamentally at odds with the basic principles of thought and logic, is rather ill-suited for communication. Similar problems arise if you start indiscriminately eliminating entire syntactic categories. And because of all that, even discombobulate ultimately only really messes with how focus is expressed rather than with the semantics of focus itself. Sorry for that, but it's important to mention. You know, there were submissions last year where we really had to investigate whether it was a language at all or not. So it's important. No offensive stuff. Remember, y'all, we're trying to have a fun, zany, cursed conlang circus here. PG-13 is the limit I'm willing to go on a submission. Again, I love freak speak, but it kind of crossed a line that went a little more than we were comfortable with. So it's sort of a difficult line to draw specifically, but if your idea makes you debate whether the offensive line is being crossed, then it's probably best for your sake to just come up with a different idea. I don't owe anyone an explanation if their language was deemed too offensive to be votable either. Let's just have fun. Let's just do it. Use the Discord channel for support. If you have any further questions, there's an FAQ channel on our Discord server that will continue to update throughout the submission and voting period. Additionally, there is a CCC4 channel in the server where you can ask questions and you can just generally discuss the circus as a whole. Please don't DM me or Eternal or staff members about your specific CCC related questions. Ask in the channel instead, right? You can ping Eternal if you don't get an answer and a few hours have passed. There's also a contact us section on the submission form, which goes more into detail about this. As with last year, details on how the voting is going to work will be included in a second announcement video at the end of the submission period. One thing we can already tell you though is that voting this year will require you to log in on nguhmail.org via Discord. And I'm sorry to anyone who doesn't like using Discord, but we had to find a way to keep people from spamming votes, and this so far has been the only approach we could find that isn't a major headache to implement. May change in the future, but for this year, it will be a Discord-based login on nguhmail.org. Finally, rules for people working in teams. People working on teams that may also want to make individual submissions should get in touch with us about it. See the contact us section on the submission form for more info. This is expected to be rare, so it's best to discuss your particular situation individually if that applies to you. But briefly, you are allowed to help as many other submitters as you want, so long as you don't contribute to the language proper. Right? You can do the video editing for them, etc. If you want to contribute to their language, that's also fine if you're not planning to submit anything of your own. For anything else, just ask us first about your situation. Whew, and that's it. Sorry, the rules list has gotten longer and longer each year. Wait, actually, that's entirely your fault. What am I apologizing for? Heavy /J on that. I'm kidding. This competition is a mess, and it probably always will be a mess. Maybe it'll be a little bit less messy each time, though. Let's hope for that. Don't be scared to submit. Even if you don't think you have a chance at winning, making a submission is a great way to start a YouTube channel if you want one. There's already many examples of this at this point. It's really super awesome to see. Also, you can make new friends, participate in the overall algorithmic success of everybody's submissions, and potentially become a part of the lore and history of the CONLANG community. So, put on your uniforms, get in the ring, and let's make this an absolutely delicious, hellish, Cursed Conlang Circus 4. Thanks so much to the new patrons who have joined me on patreon.com/nguh in the past month and a half since the Discombobulate video, even though I've basically gone radio silent while I moved back to Arizona. These new patrons are -0, Rue Spiker, and Daniel Battery Stapler. Also, new YouTube member, Rain Bees Second. I think that's how you pronounce that. Anyway, patrons and members get access to the secret Discord chat, the Nguhcraft Minecraft server, Conlang advice from me if you want it, and beginning with the next normal video, they can start sending me memes for my background green screen again, because that will soon be back. Also, they'll get early access to new pages of my comic, Jojawa Jorok, and occasional previews of upcoming videos, and they'll be able to be judges in the final round of CCC4 voting. So, that's pretty much it for now. I am going to try and go fully independent for employment starting now, which should hopefully mean more videos and stuff, but that also means I need money, so we'll see. I'm gonna open myself up to art and conlang commissions for anyone interested, so DM me or email me for more info while I figure out how to do that. But anyway, the circus has begun! Your ringleader is out!